Welcome back to Joe's Stun Unboxing. You may well have already seen the little banging of heads between Frank Warren and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT today. And of course, it's always, you sort of sit there with your popcorn, laughing intermittently between comments made by both sides. But overall, I have to say, I should thank Frank Warren and that for a new experience. And that experience is agreeing with Simon Jordan for the most part. Now, before I get into that, Warren did say a couple of things that cannot be brushed aside and should not be brushed aside. He pointed out that Tyson Fury is diagnosed with bipolar. Okay, if that's a legitimate diagnosis, I've no reason to believe it isn't, then yeah. We do have to accept that people who have bipolar or manic depression, as it used to be called, their behaviour is not consistent. It's very, very erratic, and they often say things that are extremely inappropriate, often quite stupid, but not necessarily how they don't feel. Very often, a lot of people. I mean, as I've said before in videos, I've worked with all sorts of people with all sorts of issues in the past, on and off for like the last 22 years. So I've worked with a few people who've had bipolar diagnoses, and there is a difference. Although you have to factor in if someone has a bipolar diagnosis or autism or what used to be called Asperger's or any of this stuff, any kind of, borderline personality disorder, any kind of personality disorder, because there are many of them. You have to factor all this in when it comes to behaviour, no doubt about it. Frank Warren is absolutely correct on that point. But it does not mean that the person in question isn't compos mentis, that they don't have mental capacity. And Fury, I've seen no evidence of him being detached from reality in the literal sense. That is to say, I've never heard him say he can jump out of a top floor window and say he can fly. I've never heard him say that he feels, he's not one of the sort of tinfoil hat brigade. I've never heard him come out with bizarre, proclamations that would need, really extraordinary evidence as proof. In other words, he, again, has mental capacity most of the time, and you could say that someone who's had, for example, suicidal ideation is mentally ill. Well, yeah, because mental health is the great catch-all umbrella, I should say the great catch-all net, or the umbrella, if you like, which covers all these different things. It's all, mental health. But I would say we need kind of a new paradigm where you have something called emotional health. And the two inevitably will overlap, but, mental health to me is where you really do, you walk around thinking you're Napoleon Bonaparte, or that you're, I don't know, that you're living on Mars or whatever. It's something where you literally do believe things that are just simply not true. Simply, factually it's not true. Not only that are so far out there, you would only assume, well, this person is clearly mentally ill. Other things like anxiety, depression, so on and so forth, yes, they can be clinical diagnoses, but a lot of the time it is an emotional thing, as much of, if not more so, than mental health. However, I take on board what Frank Warren said. He also said that he had a brother, I think, who was a paranoid schizophrenic and passed away. I think he said he might have committed suicide. Okay, that's none of that stuff is to be laughed at. No, it's all relevant. You all have to consider it. However, Simon Jordan made the valid point, and this is where I agree with him. Does that therefore mean that whatever Tyson Fury says or does is excusable? Because we simply say, well, he's saying all this stuff, and yeah, he's insulting people, and he's being bullish, and he's being thuggish and bullying, and but it's his diagnosis. We just have to tolerate it. We have to put up with it. Absolutely not. No mental health or professional behavioural worker, no psychologist, psychiatrist will ever make that statement that you have to put up with it. All right, you don't have to put up with it. And when Jordan used the word thuggish, Warren really objected to this. He started off by saying, Tyson, has never hit anyone. Well, I should bloody well hope not. The guy's 6'9". He weighs 19 stone. No one's suggesting he has hit anyone. But you can be a bully without being a physical bully. You can be, extremely insulting, completely inappropriate, using the most profane language in front of kids, or, you can be all of these things. And even if you have a diagnosis which can partially explain something, it doesn't mean that the rest of us have to put up with it. Mental health professionals don't. People in psychiatric wards don't put up with that stuff. People who work in psychiatric wards, I should say. Mental health professionals, they will tell you, no, you put your boundaries in place, because the protection of the worker and any third parties is as important, I would actually argue more important, than the protection of the patient. Why, in my opinion, is it more important? Because without mental health professionals or any kind of support workers or anything, the patient doesn't get any help. So if you haven't got those people there protecting themselves, looking after themselves, then the patients are on their own. And some of them, as has been the case with Fury, they need help. So I thought Jordan's based, the point that I mentioned was the crux of Jordan's argument. I absolutely agreed with. At the same time, I wouldn't dismiss what Warren has said. Obviously, I've never met Tyson Fury. I don't know what his diagnosis is. I mean, you can say, well, he's diagnosed bipolar. Is it a correct diagnosis? I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying that in my experience, people have had incorrect diagnosis. All right. So I don't know. I just don't know the man. He's got some sort of issue. I know. I always thought with Tyson Fury, he had some sort of behavioural disorder, maybe. But maybe he is bipolar. A lot of bipolar people people who suffer from that are treated with lithium, which is an extremely hard drug. You have to get the dose absolutely right. If it's too little, it won't do any good at all. If it's too much, it can kill you. I mean, it's a very serious drug. There are other drugs that can be used, and I don't know what he's on. I don't know what he's on medically. But again, every patient, everyone with a diagnosis is different when it comes to medication. Some medications suit some people, some suit other people. Then you've got to get the dose right. Tyson's a very big man, So I would not dismiss any of that mental health stuff. I'm not in we see a lot. This is why it pisses me off so much when people play the mental health card. And I'm not saying Fury, I don't know Fury, so I'm not saying he's done this. But I have known a lot of people say, well, it's my mental health. No, it's not your mental health. You're being a fucking arsehole. And you're blaming it on your mental health. You meant nothing wrong with your mental health. I know some people who behave in ways which are completely inappropriate, completely unacceptable, and they just play the game. And they're an insult to the people that really are suffering, because mental health is a very real thing. And for those of us that have actually been there in that dark room, those dark, really dark places, it ain't no joke. Trust me, it ain't no joke. So just a few thoughts on this little ding-dong battle. Yeah, go and have a look at it. It's on YouTube. It is, I mean, I was sort of laughing. Although it's a serious subject, I was laughing. What else was there that was I'm just trying to think back through if I've missed anything out that I wanted to mention. I know that Jordan in the past has been very complimentary of Fury, and he did make the point, and of course this is absolutely valid, that Fury and his team always take the compliments, they always take the plaudits. But the moment anyone gets even mildly critical, as we know, they throw their toys out the pram. That's got nothing to do with mental health. Nothing at all. I mean, and I'm not talking specifically about Tyson Fury, I mean the rest of his team. And Warren himself, Warren has said, I am loyal to Tyson Fury. Well, loyalty's fine. Loyalty's good. If he wasn't promoting him, if he wasn't making money out of him, would he be loyal? He might, but because of the situation with his brother passing away, he might have sympathy for him. He might feel some sort of empathy, try to, but of course he does have the vested interest, and that can't be overlooked either. But anyway, a few comments. Leave yours below, and as always, thank you for your time. And I'm eager to read your comments, see what you think, see what your take is on Fury, on this whole little spat between talkSPORT and Warren. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons you can see. What the hell? Anyway, thanks a lot. Later on. Bye for now.